Good morning, everyone. This is Gillespie here. This is our last video on complex sentences. So that's the good news. The other good news is this is the only video for this week. The bad news is that Thursday I'm going to give you a quiz. So it's really important that you try your best. It's going to be worth 10 points. So please make sure that you watch all of this video. Go back and rewatch the videos from the other weeks if you're still not sure on complex sentences. Or give me a shout out if you have questions or need any help with anything this week. So I'm going to go through and explain, just kind of go through the complex sentences again. At this point, you should have watched, if you have access to Brain Pop, you should have watched the video on there. That goes over exactly what I'm going over today. So if you can't watch Brain Pop, then you will get everything in this video. So it's okay. Today's assignment, you will need to go through and actually write complex sentences. Okay? The parts of the sentence are already given to you. You just have to put it into a complex sentence. Okay, so just take your time. If you have questions, please, again, just let me know. Okay, so I'm going to go over it one more time with you, go over some more examples, go over some more specifics, and hopefully this will help. Okay, so we have been talking about complex sentences. We talked about how a independent clause is when the thought can stand on, it's a complete thought, it can stand on its own. A dependent clause usually sounds a little bit weird if you write it by itself. And you'll see, I'm going to show you an example here in a minute. So it's important that you get those two differences, okay? So what I'm going to talk about today is when you have if you write the independent clause first and then write the dependent clause in a complex sentence, you don't need a comma, okay? If the independent clause is first, followed by the dependent, no comma. If you write the dependent clause first, and then you write the independent clause, you have to put a comma in the middle, okay, like we did with our compound sentences. So if you write the dependent clause, then you would have to put a comma and then the independent clause. Some things I want you to think about, some thinking questions to go with this, are which part of the sentence tells a complete thought, and then which part cannot stand alone. Okay, so if you can go through and look at a complex sentence and figure out which one's a complete thought and which one's not the complete thought, that will really help you. Let me give you an example. So today's assignment is they're going to give you two sentences. They're actually just going to give you the two clauses and you have to put them together in a complex sentence. So that's what my example is today. So he went swimming, even though the water was cold. And I, again, color coded everything. So everything that's green is the independent clause. Everything that's blue is the dependent clause. Okay, and then what I did is I wrote two examples of the complex sentence. I wrote one where I started with the independent clause and one where I started with the dependent clause. You can put them in either order. It doesn't matter. What matters is whether the order you put them in, whether you put the comma or not. Okay, that's really the main difference. So the first one, I put the independent clause first. He went swimming even though the water was cold. No comma. Okay. The second one, I put the dependent clause first. So like the second one, even though the water was cold, comma, he went swimming. So remember, if you put the dependent clause first, and the way that you know that is you start with the conjunction. If your sentence starts with the conjunction, you need to have a comma in it. Okay? If your sentence starts, let me say that one more time. If your sentence starts with a comma or with a conjunction, you need to have a comma in your sentence. So if your sentence starts with a conjunction, you should have a comma somewhere in your sentence. Okay? Let me go over a couple of the other ones that you're going to see on your assignment today, just to kind of give you reasons why you would use those conjunctions. Okay? So when you would use, and like I said in previous videos, a lot of you are already writing complex sentences and you probably don't even realize it. Some of you are not, and that's what we need. That's why we need to practice it. But some of you are already doing this. You probably don't even realize you're doing it. Okay? When gives more details about the time the time it occurs. Okay? An example would be, I will go to the grocery store when I run out of food. Right? I will go to the grocery store, and then when I run out of food. Okay? Now, if I flipped it, when I run out of food, comma, I will go to the grocery store. Until indicates when something will happen, begin or end. I use this a lot. You cannot go play until you get your homework done. Okay? So once you get your homework done, you can go play is what I'm saying by using the word until. Unless, this is a tricky one, you use it when talking about the future. Okay? And it's kind of one of those things that it's kind of like the conjunction but. It kind of is like a negative one that says, we are not going to do this unless you do this. You know, so it kind of is the opposite. It kind of has a negative connotation to it. And then even though, this is one that we used in the example, even though is a statement, it just means that the statement does not make the rest untrue. Okay? So even though the water was cold, okay, just because the water was cold, doesn't mean he didn't go swimming. He actually did go swimming, even though the water was cold, okay? It doesn't change the fact that he still went swimming, regardless of what the temperature of the water was like, okay? So on your assignment today, you have 6 questions where I have given you the parts of the complex sentence. You just have to put them together, okay? And honestly, for those of you actually watching the video, you can literally just take the 2 sentences, write them into one big sentence, and then just decide if you need a comma. You can literally just write it word for word. You just take out the period that's in between the 2 sentences. Okay? The last question, you need to write your own complex sentence. Okay? This is completely pointless. Going over all these complex sentences is completely pointless if you can't use it in your own writing. So I want to see that you can use it in your own writing. So I just want you to come up with one complex sentence on your own. Make sure it has all these parts. So when you go through and write it, you need to go through and see, okay, which part tells a complete thought? Where is my independent clause? Where is my dependent clause? If you don't have an independent clause and a dependent clause with a conjunction, you don't have a complex sentence. Okay, so you need to make sure that you have all the parts that we've been talking about when you write your complex sentence. Okay, this is our only video for this week. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you in our videos next week. Bye, guys.